Hey guys, welcome back. Happy Easter. Hope you're having fun and having a beautiful day wherever you're at, wherever you may be. So we're going to do another version of the egg plate. I've seen these on Pinterest for organizing all sorts of different drawers and things like that. So just want to make sure that my video is working. Sorry, this will take one moment. But we're going to be doing the same thing just in case this is working. Seems like it is. Oh, sorry about that, guys. So again, we're going to start with the 1 pound ball of clay, and again using that open and relaxed hand. And as long as you keep the ball moving in every single direction possible, it will become a ball or sphere shape. You do want it to be as spherical or as much of a ball as much as possible for this next piece, because it's going to be a round shape. And again, open, relaxed hand, avoiding using the fingertips. And there's a couple of reasons why we want to avoid using the fingertips. Any sort of gouging type force will create a thin to a weak spot in your piece and if you fold it, it may cause an air pocket, may explode. The bludgeoning force again is another type that will create that air pocket and explode. We never want to pick up the clay with our fingertips like it's a piece of paper, because that will create, again, that thin to thick spot, and your piece, that's more than likely where it's going to crack, warp, or fissure. And even if it doesn't break while you're making it, it may break in the kiln. So we can roll our clay around. As long as we keep it moving again in every direction, we'll keep that ball or sphere shape. You can clap it, spins according to your dominant hand. But I like slapping it in my hands, just like this. Open and relaxed hand, back and forth, keeping it as spherical or as round as possible. So now I am going to take my ball and slam it down. So again, with the clay, it's important that whatever you do to one side of the clay body, you must do the same thing to the opposite or parallel side. If we kept compressing on the one side in the one direction, again, your pieces may crack, warp, fissure, break. So we want to turn it that quarter turn and flip it over. Another reason why we want to turn it that quarter turn and flip is because we want to stretch the clay out evenly in every single direction. If we continually stretch the clay out in one direction, that's the direction it's going to shrink the most in. And this does shrink about 10 to 15%, this type of clay. So just keeping that in mind. You want to keep the slab is a flat piece of clay, as even of a thickness throughout this whole process as much as possible. If you go too thin, too fast, it may crack or break. If you go too thin, it may crack or break. So flip and turn. And again, I'm using the fullness of my hand the best I can to help support the clay through the full surface area of the clay. Instead of the whole mass. And this, you can start slapping it if you want. Just make sure you pick it up that quarter turn, flip, slap if you want. People really enjoy this one. This is really how we're having the most fun, I think. Besides that. So continue. And we're going to now move to our dowels. The dowels will act like a bumper to ensure that we have a nice even piece of clay throughout this whole process. And I'm just going to use my rolling pin on top. Fingertips past the wrists. It's really important to avoid these short, choppy motions, because again, that will cause that thick to thin spot, and your pieces may crack or fissure. So I'm going to move to the 3/8. And fingertips past the wrists, using your whole body. And again, picking up the clay through the full surface area with the full mass and the fullness of your hand. Pick it up and turn and flip. Fingertips past the wrists. And once you notice your clay is no longer expanding or growing, move to your next set of dowels. So now we're going down to our 1/4 inch. Fingertips past the wrists. And then pick up your clay, turn it that quarter turn. And then roll out the clay, fingertips past the wrists. clay, fullness of your hand, the fullness of the surface area, and roll fingertips past the wrists. You can work easily on your kitchen table at home, covered in newspaper, canvas, cloth, whatever, or you can work outside. It's always nice. So now I'm going to move now down to this is a little bit smaller, but you can see you can use skewers that you have at home. You can pick them up at the grocery store when you're getting your groceries. Now on that flip, I use the table to help support the full mass of the clay and through the full surface area because it's getting a little bit big for me. So fingertips past the wrists. And again, we're picking up the clay with the fullness of our hand and using the table to help support that, because if you let gravity pull down on the clay at all, again, that will cause that that area to have a stress fracture and it probably will crack or fissure, things like that. So we're going to use a hump mold simple former today. I found these, I believe, again at a secondhand store, maybe a yard sale. I don't like buying plastics because I don't like that to register on the GDP, but at the upcycling stores, it's okay because I'm saving them from the landfill and giving them a use. So and I get them out of the sun where they decompose faster. So just checking my slab, checking my form, and that looks good. I like how that ended up. I'm gonna keep this the way it is. I like these little cracks. I'm gonna go a little organic today, a little rustic feel. Because when I think of eggs in a ceramic basket, it's just so rustic and just so romantic, thinking of like the farm. So now, whenever you're gonna use a non-porous form like this, plastic, glass, metal, you need a way for the clay to release from the form because it may stick due to the water content in the clay body, which burns out in the first firing. So I'm going to take our one form, and you know what? Let's just use a full sheet of this newsprint. One of the best uses of the phone book these days. So there go. And I don't mind the crinklies happening on the back. That will happen with these large sheets on this because again it's kind of rustic. And then I forgot about my little stamp. And don't forget, you can decorate your surface however you want. Anything that has any sort of like 3D quality or texture, you can use it to decorate. So I'm just gonna put my little chop, my little signature, and again I'm supporting the full surface area and the full weight with the fullness of my hand, just on top. So now with this, again, it's important not to just start shoving the clay into the corner because you'll cause your clay to thin in that spot, and you'll have it thin to a thick spot. So wherever I'm pressing, I'm also supporting through the thickness of the clay, so that I'm not just stretching out in the corner as I'm pressing in and uptaking the form underneath, but so that the clay is gently folding into that, kind of like a nice piece of cloth. And just take that without that shape, without deforming too much. So it's important again to remember that the clay you're working with today is more of like a liquid, and it will just displace wherever you add pressure. I'm adding extra newspapers to those little places that were exposed. So I'm not going to add all the pressure all together all at once, but I'm going to now start looking at these little areas. And again, same thing. You don't want to just start shoving your fingers into the corners, the little shoulders of the clay, but I'm also shoving the mass or moving the mass without shaping the thickness. So again, it doesn't go too thin, too fast, so it won't break on me in that kiln firing. So you do have to use both hands. You have two hands for a reason. And then the thing with these kinds of projects, whenever you're doing anything new or diving into a new art, it's important again not to judge yourself And don't judge your piece and don't judge your process, but just keep going and just believe in yourself, and you'll make something nice. And just know, especially like on this, you don't want to go too fast or focus too much on your imperfections in the beginning, because you're just gonna make mistakes and highlight them and make them worse. But instead, you have this whole area to work in, so just keep on going. Everything will be fine. So that's kind of taking its shape. Very nice. So I'm just focusing in the little corners, and then also pushing again through the thickness and in this form and on this cavity and the inside cavity. So I'm kind of focusing on 3 areas at once: this inside here as well as the outside. So again, I'm not stretching out the clay, because again, if you make it too thin in some areas to thick spots, it will crack, it will break. And especially when you start working, it doesn't seem very large, but this is a large surface area, and the clay is more likely to catch on the kiln shelf when it shrinks and break. So that's all the more reason why we want to give it every chance to succeed, just like this. And as you go through, you'll find what you want to do differently or better next time, let alone what you like. Whatever that means. Maybe you want to add feet or handles, you know? And that's looking really cute. And again, just completing the cycle, just keep going around. I'm not focusing too much on my imperfections or mistakes. And then with this guy, I kind of went into the piece knowing I'm going to leave it a little bit rustic, which would be super fun. This little egg display dish. And now I'm going to also feel, just feeling for the thickness of the clay through each one of these little cavities. But again, it's important not to go too hard, too fast, or be careful of thinning it out. That will cause those places to get those cracks, warps, and fissures. Which is fine if you have your own studio at home and your own kiln if pieces explode. But it's another thing when you're at a communal studio like ours and it takes out everybody else's pieces, which is super devastating, or worse, destroys the kiln or kiln shelves that everybody has to use. So we always want to keep in mind everybody else's as well as ourselves, because we're all in this together. So super cute. Done. I love it. I think this is wonderful. This is really cute. And you can easily use this for like little hors d'oeuvres or organization or crafts. And then if you're so lucky like me to have a second form to use, you can again just put that newspaper with these little strips. And again, I don't mind the crinklies happening because this is kind of a rustic piece in my mind. And then we can gently line up these pieces just like this. So you can also not only check it from this side to see how it's doing, but you can also add a little bit of weight to help hold this, to make this piece more flat, if you will. But don't be too worried about things if they, you can also add pressure just like this that I'm doing all the way around. And that's that. Don't forget to decorate it and make it your own. Wonderful treasure, good for 10,000 years if you take care of it. But super easy peasy, right? You can totally make it at home. You can see we used every tools that you probably have in your kitchen. I've used the little one's thumbprints, which is super fun to use on these pieces as a little, and then make sure you put the year so you remember 10 years from now or the 10,000 years from now when they dig it up. But happy Easter, everybody, and I hope you guys are all taking care of yourselves, and make sure to wash your hands thoroughly and frequently, and I hope to see you soon in the future. And don't forget to leave us comments or send us pictures of stuff you want to make or things that you've been struggling on at home, because we're here to help. And I hope you have a beautiful weekend.